All right. Hi, everybody. I wanted to come on here and share with you about what God revealed to me and what God is doing in my life and what God is either getting ready to do in your life, what God is currently doing in your life. This message is for whoever it is for. Now, the title of this is Rest is Your Promised Land. This word spoke to me from God before, I would say about 2 years ago. And I was looking around my physical world and I didn't see what God meant about rest being your promised land. Now, I went on an 8 year healing journey and God began changing me, changing my belief patterns, changing the way I viewed things, changing how I saw myself, changing my identity, changing, the belief patterns of me believing that I wasn't enough, low self-esteem, feeling inadequate, feeling like I wasn't enough, feeling that life was hard, feeling that money was hard, relationships were hard. I always lived in fear of with my health. And so there was all these different fears that I had carried that God had shown me that this was what happened. These were belief patterns and fears and agreements that you picked up when you were a child. And so the reason why God spoke to me and shared with me this truth was because I cried out to God 8 years ago because I knew that the way that my life was going could not continue to go the way that it was going, and I was carrying too much heaviness in my heart. I was fighting too hard. And the harder I was physically fighting, physically trying to fix things, physically trying to change things, um, the more friction started happening, and uh, so it took me to the place of God. I know this is about me. Show me who I really am, and I began going on this process. I share in detail on like my podcast and other things, but I don't have I only have a certain time to share this. Rest is your promised land, is what God shared with me. So 7 years ago, went on the journey of healing. Not only did I heal internally, but I also healed externally. And as I began healing externally, I was working out. I was sent by God to go to personal training. And it really was, for me, the workout was really all about me doing the internal work and being in alignment with that. I felt the need to start working out because of what the pruning process of what was happening and what God was doing inside of me. I felt innately, intuitively to start working out. And so as I began working out to be in alignment with the process of what was happening internally, it was like all connected, working out, eating more whole, not eating a lot of junk food. I went on a healing journey with God, and so that a lot of stuff shifted inside of me, and because of that, and along with working out, that's how I lost the physical weight. And so I was like very, very focused, on the grind for like 7 years, very, very focused spiritually. It was like straight up boot camp, like spiritual boot camp and physical boot camp. And really, in essence, in how I was raised, the hard work ethic that I had really came in handy on the spiritual journey, because it allowed me to. It was that grind that I needed to help me spiritually push through those strongholds, to push through the fear, to be very, very focused physically. So that's just kind of where I was for 7 years. I felt the shift happen on that seventh year. I felt the things I felt it. that things were shifting, and I felt the Holy Spirit. I felt God tell me that that part of my chapter was ending. And so as I began shifting, letting, letting go of that hard, uh, intense journey that I was on, as I began slowly coming out of that phase, things I kept hearing from God was, rest is your promised land. Rest is your promised land. And that was so hard because for so long, rest meant that I was, in essence, not trusting. I thought that if I rested, that's me being lazy. If I rested, then that created like this anxiety. I got to do something. And God was saying, rest, rest. And for me, I had gone through the spiritual process. I had obeyed. I had followed this path. And God was making all things new in me. And it required a shift in me to be in a space of receiving the promised land, to be in the space of openness and acceptance and flow, and not in the place of hardcore where I was spiritually. Things were shifting. The seasons was shifting. That chapter was shifting inside of me, and I had to follow it and I had to trust it. It no longer required so much of what I thought me putting so much pound on the pavement. And now it was time for me to rest. It was time for me to let go of the mentality of keeping my head above water. It was time for me to let it go and trust God. And what I'm finding out is that rest is trust. And when you rest in God, when you operate from a place of rest, you're able to hear Him. When you operate from a place of rest, you're able to trust God and not lean into, from what I have experienced, my own understanding, how I used to operate, how I used to get down. That was the strength that I relied on. And that was what needed to die in order to receive what it was that, to be in alignment, what it was that God had for me, what it was that God has. It already is within you. It already is resting on the inside of you. And so it was more so about clearing out the path, clearing out the heaviness, clearing out the clutter, spiritually, energetically, so that you can make room for what already is for you. So in essence, it's not, your promised land is not out of reach, but it's more so within reach. And then going through the process with the Spirit of God to show you and bring you into the path of truth. And so your sight changes, your consciousness changes, your heart posture changes, and you go through that process. It's all connected: mind, body, spirit, your physical, your emotion, all of it is connected. Rest is your promised land. Trust what God is revealing to you. Trust what God is showing you.